from there. All right. Now, what we might end up having is this might be cut out after 30 minutes because it only allows you to paint for 30 minutes. But we can take a break then, and then you can get on with the rest of your stuff. So we've done about 5 minutes already, so let's just crack on. I'm using the same brush as I did previously, which is like a hog hair of sorts. It's a nice nice wide brush, wide-ish, and so because we're looking at covering basic territory still, we are looking at the same colors that we used yesterday, which is very clean cadmium red, keeping it simple. The thing with the cadmium red is it's quite opaque, and so it is quite powerful, but it's quite nice in that it's it's a very clean color. It's uncomplicated. It's the most primary that you can get. Okay, so what we're going to do is with Marez in the foreground, what you can do with oil painting, you're not painting in oil, but with oil painting, you can give it a bit of a dose of either liquid, or you can give it a dose of a bit of terps on the linseed oil, or terps on the top. So it's wet again to start with, because you don't obviously have a big enough walk-in freezer. If you did, one would be able to put the painting in that freezer overnight, so that the paint doesn't dry and you can still work on a wet surface. Okay, so what we're going to do is we mix our pigment first, which is red and blue. A red and blue pigment, just less blue, more red. You'll find that you'll get to your purple very nice and easily. All right, so if you were to, you can probably see that that's actually quite a nice dark purple, because from there you then separate onto the side. You take a little bit out of that white and you immediately go to the side, and you'll see that then you have your dark and your light next to it. This is all the stuff that was in that painting exercise that I sent out. So the basic color theory mixing, you mix your pigment first and then you add the white, and you will then be able to start working from that. If we were to put that on top, we'll see that it's very similar to that sort of where we were on that background yesterday. And what you want to do is, with that hard brush, you just want to sort of scrub over the surface, not totally obliterating that lovely orange that you've got underneath. You want to be able to just scumble over the top of it. But you need to make sure that you focus on your vanishing point. All right, so your vanishing point is in the middle. What ended up with that painting I saw yesterday is that your vanishing point ended up being really, really large. If you look here on the screen, you'll see that yours ended up going from vertically there. And we wanted to finish off in the center. So all of your lines point to that vanishing point, and you scrub away from that vanishing point there. And so we move in an outwards direction on that. You don't want to lose that orange undercoat that you got, so we're just going to really dry-ish brush to scribble over the top. This is an easier process to do with oil, but it is doable also with acrylic. Acrylic it requires a lot of confidence and reckless painting, but fortunately, some of the work that I've seen of both of yours, there's a lovely confidence to that mark making. Okay, so with this type of background, we're looking at the reference. There's a we're looking at creating these trees that are going to come into the background here, but we want to make sure that this background is complete first. So this morning, and the last thing we'll do is put the trees in, but this morning we're going to look at creating more of this background. Now, in the reference that I sent out, you can't actually see too much of the background, so we have to use a little bit of artistic license, and that we go back to looking at this particular reference that we've got. We can't get it to focus there.
It's a bit very blurry.
Yeah. Oh well, the one I did send it on. If you look back in the WhatsApp imagery, we've got a lovely. It's a very clear image, and we're going from this light purple. We want to move a bit further up into the top. We're going to add a bit more blue into this purple that we've just used, so that in between our light purple and our dark purple, we've got more of a blue purple now. Okay, because that darker blue, we want to create this this darker horizon. Now I'm pointing my brush. Let me let you just mix that paint first. A little bit of a darker purple to start with there. So you've added more blue to this, this color. And what we're going to do is, by pointing our brush up, we want to establish just above halfway a darker version of this purple that we've got there. Now we're just going to run a line across so that we end up establishing, it's going to dip down to the right-hand side here a little bit. So a little bit of artistic license, but what we're doing is we're creating this ridge in the background, and from there you're wanting to drag your information down. You can see that we're pointing to the top and it is scrubbing downwards from that. You're not adding more paint, because what you're wanting to do is gradually run out of paint as you come into this lighter zone at the bottom. By running out of paint, all it's doing is it's sort of creating a mist belt at the base there. And full face of the brush, so it's not on its side. And the smaller mark making you go, if you go little scrub marks, you then end up creating more detail. In essence, you've got tiny little mark makings, and you'll see it allows you to have quite a nice texture that develops. So the brush mark making is important. You're leaving just the top as it hits the sky, you get that refraction of light, which allows it to have a little bit of a darker edge at the top there. And so from there, you will be able to work down. So we can see that there's now established a third layer. Now I'm going to try and push you to move quickly. You want to be able to really just scrub nice wide brush. And we're working on top of the painting from yesterday. And now once you've cleared that background in, we can do again what paint you've got left on your brush. We can go in this background here just to scrub in an even lighter version of it. I'm literally going to try and get whatever's left on my brush to scrub into the background. Again, it is lower than our last horizon. If you can see that it's just a little bit lower than that last horizon. And we're allowing it also again to have a little bit of mist at the base there. So you develop all a nice kind of variety of, it allows it just to travel. Now this is just going to be some quiet information right in the back of the artwork. So first of all, we establish our horizon line. We worked with white, blue, coming down, adding a bit of red to get into this red purple. Then you're going to scribble out with that red purple. This morning we've gone back in by adding more blue to create this background area. And so from there, we're going to continue now into coming further forward. So you could, in this particular environment, if we look closely at the reference, we don't want to make it too complicated. What you have to do sometimes is just limit the amount of detail. You've got to kind of use a little bit of abstract license, meaning you've got to simplify it and keep it nice and quiet. Okay, so what we're going to do is add a little bit of yellow onto the side of this purple, and you're immediately going to get a green. Can you see up the top there?
Yes.
Okay. So adding yellow to this complement of blue, your bluey purple, you're going to get a dirty green. Okay. So by having that dirty green, one has the ability to create our next main tone that we're going to work with and finish with today. So we've got 3 colors that we've used. We're keeping it simple, and by then adding the white on the side of that, there we go. We get a very light sandy green. It's using the same colors, and what we're going to try and do with that is just add it into the side of this mountain range at the back here to give us this sort of light feel that there might be a bit of, I don't know, green coming down off the mountain. Now I'm pointing and moving my brush stroke in the direction that if water were to flow off the mountain, that's the same direction that your brush mark is going to be going. Now picture a strata, a rock strata that's coming off the top here. Pick a top line. Don't go all the way up to the top, but pick a small line there and then run your lines down from that so that you are establishing you get a lovely green that will come through there. So mark making in the direction that the object is growing, you can just scribble down with your brush. You'll notice I'm not using a lot of paint. With oil, you do get away with, once you put this base down, which we saw was a lot of paint yesterday, working on top, you get away with using quite a bit less paint, a lot less paint. Okay, I'm going to add more yellow into that white green, into that yellow, green, purple. Now you see there's the convoluted nature of understanding colors, that we started with blue, and let me bring this picture right up to the palette there, and you can see that we've got this purple that we made, then there's the white that we added onto that, yellow into that green, and then I've added white into that, so that you can see we've got a yellow, green, purple. So you could theoretically take this color all the way around and you'd end up with that color. It's not going to create confusion or dirt. You're still always going to get, it's going to twirl right through, mixing the same colors, you're going to end up at that same destination. And that's the whole point of painting, is that you're understanding color. Your subject matter really is sometimes quite irrelevant. You just end up with, and here you can see on that, we've got a little bit of that light green coming through onto the mountain range there, coming through into the foreground, and you get that. In terms of our reference, we've got, if we want to highlight the road, so you want to create a little bit more definition in terms of, you know what, I need to understand where I am. You can take a little bit of that paint that's on your brush, and I'm going to put a tiny little horizon line in there where that end of that avenue is going to be. And then if you want to, I'm literally dragging the brush on the surface. I'm turning it down so it's almost touching the and I'm taking the paint that's where it goes up to the boot. Sometimes that light picks up, and I'm going to create from that small point at the back there, I'm coming forward, so I've got a more defined area. Okay, so that's definitely, now I'm recognizing that that's where that road is going to be. And it's with this yellowy green color. Once you've established that line, what I'm going to do is horizontal strokes using the knife edge of the brush. So the blade, you're wanting to just now scribble across that horizontally so that you get a flat. It's sort of starting to say that the ground is actually flat, it's not vertical. And you can, again, now just on the road area, we want to scrub sideways, trying to get all that paint off the brush. Now you'll get, hopefully, that just establishing more of a defined